My question is, how many of those guys are really that high on the Steelers draft board to forego a quarterback?
So my thoughts have changed here because at the beginning, I didn't think it was many, but I like that we're going through the process because it's kind of given me the idea that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going one of two ways with their first round pick. They're either 100% sold on a quarterback and they don't really care which one it is, or they're going defensive back because that is the only two positions that they have just dug into as much as they possibly can. If you're bringing Kyle Hamilton in for a visit, you're doing your homework on guys you shouldn't even need to do. And that's the thing. They don't do their homework on guys that they don't need to do their homework on. Derek Stingley was a guy that many believe could still fall to them at 20. Sauce Gardner is not. You want to know why they went to Cincinnati's Pro Day? Not to watch Sauce Gardner, to watch Desmond Ridder. You want to know why they went to Clemson's Pro Day? To watch Andrew Booth because he has the potential to slide back. You want to know why they went to Stingley's? Because he has the potential to slide back. Daxton Hills was the same way. They weren't there watching Aiden Hutchinson like, oh man, I hope this guy falls to 20. Like that's not their MO. And they know that. They're smart enough to do their homework on these guys and do it correctly. And I think those are the only two positions that they've shown. Here's my thing. This is where things might get interesting. And I've thought about this a lot today and in the past couple of days. The Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback, but when you look through the draft, and I know we talked the other day about how the trades in the NFL might have shaken things up, but really, if nobody's really gung-ho on getting a quarterback in this draft, including the Steelers, there might still be a guy like Desmond Ridder that falls to like just the end of that first round. Like a lot of people are mocking him at the Lions with the first pick in the second round or the last pick in the first round, whatever it is. Those guys. Sam Howell is another name. He'll be here tomorrow to visit with the Steelers. Obviously been high on him for a long time. I think that there's an opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers to draft a defensive back if one falls, and there's plenty of them. Like I don't expect, just to go through the list of who they met with in pro days, Daxton Hill, Derek Stingley, Lewis Kine, whatever his last name is, Andrew Booth, Kyle Hamilton, Sauce Gardner. I don't expect all those guys to be gone by 20. I expect at least one of them to be sitting around. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers could take one of those guys, feel good about adding to their defensive backfield, and then maybe pull the Baltimore Ravens and say, we're going to go get Desmond Ridder at the end of the first round. Let's use a third round pick and move up. Been thinking about it a lot.
That's such a gamble. Like that, that is really a gamble. If you think Ritter's the guy, and for you to take somebody and then try to again move up either at the very end of the first or at the beginning of the second. And like the comment that Kevin Colbert made still resonates in my head. I don't want to leave this team without its next franchise quarterback. I think we can all agree Trubisky is not the next franchise guy. Rudolph is not the next franchise guy. Haskins is not the franchise guy. Colbert's contract ends after the 2022 NFL draft. So if this dude is really sticking to that word, they're going to go get somebody.
See, I think that his comments since then, though, have drifted away from that because he did say that, and that has stuck out to me a lot, but he's also complimented Mitchell Trubisky to the point where he somewhat believes he could be an answer for this team. He's also said that Mason Rudolph is still the guy, and they're going to believe that he's the guy. He's also said that there is quarterback talent in this draft, but there isn't a lot of quarterback talent in this draft, which does help your point. Maybe they are thinking that. I just think it's more of, why are you rushing the gun if Desmond Ridder is your best option on the board still at 20, and you still have Matt Corral and Sam Howell behind them, which they've met with all three enough times to think they're comfortable with all three of them. I think that they could let that one slide and take that gamble. I don't know how much farther behind them they could go before they have to make a move, but that's what the Baltimore Ravens did, and they ended up with Lamar Jackson. And to your point, I think that they don't want to take that risk, but I also think that they have learned from Baltimore, and they could see a guy like Desmond Ridder and say, okay, we need a defensive back. We feel real good about defensive back, but we are not going to let Desmond Ridder slide through our fingers. So we're going to take this guy and then we're going to immediately move back up as soon as he hits, that spot that we need to get to where we feel, okay, this is getting dangerous. And I think that they can move back in and get him.
I do think the good part about having a guy like that sliding into like the 20s is a lot of those teams were obviously like the higher up in the draft order that you get, the more teams have with like an established like quarterback. So, they're not really looking at like a guy like Ritter or Corral or like whoever it might be.
Yep.
It's probably a little bit safer to do that. Whereas opposed if you're picking at like pick 12 or like 13 or somewhere around there where like, teams will jump like 10 plus spots to go and get their guy. It's tough. It's tough. My whole basis is if they're sold on Ritter, not Corral, not Howell, whoever it might be, if they really like Ritter, and like let's be real, I think Ritter's probably the most realistic option that they have sitting there at pick 20. If they like him, they might be able to trade back a couple spots and still get him at like 23, 25. And like that's the problem with this is that like for a very long time in like the early stages of the draft process, I think both you and I, along with everybody else, kind of was looking at like the second round saying, hey, the Steelers can address the position in the first, and then, like Desmond Ridder, like they can go snatch him up in a second, no problem. Yep. Whereas now we're closer to the draft, we're starting to kind of fill things out a little bit better. And it's getting to the point where like it really looks like Desmond Ridder is going to be a first round pick, whether he's in Pittsburgh, whether it's somewhere else. It really looks like at the moment that he's going to be a first round guy.
He is. I think he is going to be a first round guy. I truly believe that. And I also believe that there's an opportunity or the potential that he isn't even there at 20. I think to some degree, the Pittsburgh Steelers might just be out of luck and be like, well, we don't have a quarterback here.
So if he's not there at 20, for whatever reason, let's say a team jumps up to 19 and only gets him. Do you think anything changes with that? Do you think they take a guy like Corral or Howell in the first round? Do you think they go best player available? Do you think they move back and try to like figure things out from there?
No, I think that they take a defensive back at that point. I'm pretty sold that those will be the only two positions they take in the first round is either a safety or a cornerback, and which all these guys can play both pretty much, and a quarterback. I think that's the only two positions they want there. I mean, outside of like if Jordan Davis slides to 20, but chances are that's not going to happen, or like Devin Lloyd slides to 20, those are different. But I think that at that point, you could take the risk because if your options are Matt Corral or Sam Howell, you probably like Sam Howell more than you like Matt Corral if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, just by how much interest they've shown so far. And I think that a team is likely to choose Corral over Howell at the end of the first round. Like the Detroit Lions, if they're thinking quarterback, and I think that changes a lot too. Like for all three of those guys to be gone, you either have to say the Detroit Lions take Malik Willis at 2, or the Atlanta Falcons and the Saints, the Eagles, the Washington Commanders, those guys get real ballsy and take Kenny Pickett or whoever else is there. Yeah. And then one of them takes Ritter, excuse me. So I think at that point you could just say, hey, we'll just wait around for pick 2 and one of them will be there, which I don't know. Here's a question though. If they did move up, and I know that we don't agree on this, but if they did move up, what do you think it would cost to get back into the first round?
If you're moving up from their second round pick, and we'll say like pick like 30 or like 31, right? Like somewhere like at the tail end of the first.
Yeah, right at the end. So here's the order after them. It's New England, not going to get a quarterback. The Packers, they're definitely drafting a wide receiver. The Cardinals, I mean, they're about to ink Kyler Murray to $1 million deal. The Cowboys, they just did ink Dak Prescott to $1 million deal. The Bills, not looking for a quarterback. The Titans, maybe. The Bucks, probably not. The Packers again, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Lions. So I would say you're taking a risk with the Tennessee Titans at 26, but if the Tennessee Titans don't pick a quarterback, I think you could push it back as far as 32.
So the Ravens, whenever they moved up to take Lamar at pick number 32, they sent pick 52, 125, and then a second round pick in the following year to Philadelphia in exchange for the 32nd pick and the 132nd pick. So basically, they swapped second round picks of that year and then gave them an additional second round pick the following year. So probably somewhere around there. But I would guess would be compensation, which like it seems fair. I don't think that's like highway robbery on any side of that deal.
No, then my question